When it comes to having the right attorney in your corner, you want to have a proven winner on your side, and Russell Dutch Boyd of VegasCounsel.com knows how to win in Las Vegas. Boyd graduated at 18 years old from law school and is also a 3-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner. And no matter what legal challenges you're facing, Boyd will help you through it all. As a litigation attorney, he covers multiple areas of law, including personal injury, business law and startup, cyber law, and crypto clients, and whatever else you might need to navigate the legal waters of Las Vegas and beyond. Just visit VegasCounsel.com to set up your free initial consultation today. That's VegasCounsel.com and let Dutch Boyd help you win today. Once again, that's Russell Boyd at VegasCounsel.com.
.1015 FM, 720 AM. KDWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
Oh, it's wrestling. Yeah, baby. Here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM. El Taco de la Las Vegas.
Oh, good lordo.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. I took 2 years, though, in high school. But that was
and I see it paid off.
That was a long time
Donde
ago.
está el baño?
I know that one.
La cuenta, por favor.
Stop it. Andrew Fish Fain, I'm Mark Hoke. Joe DeFalco from...
I'm the new manager for Los Lotharios.
Yes, congratulations. Future stars of wrestling. On
I
the
knew
line.
we were doing 2 hours.
Oh. I'm sorry, Joe, I didn't catch that.
I said, I didn't even know we were doing 2 hours.
How about that?
Joe, we just love you so much.
You retweeted the tweet on Friday night.
What do you want me to do, read it?
Yeah.
Joey,
I read Joe's tweets on
if I don't have 2 hours of you in my life every week, I just melt.
Oh, my God. What a day. What a day. But we are having a blast here. And by the way, if you want to follow us on our social media, at Mark Hoke Show on Twitter, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, and MarkHokeShow.com. And that crazy podcast is going to be up soon from that last hour, plus all the other ones.
What craziness? I don't know what you're talking about.
MarkHokeShow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So check that out. And
You got to go heated.
Of course,
The fans in Bangladesh are eagerly awaiting.
What
they are actually.
What, our podcast or food?
Both. Both. But hey, our buddy from Macedonia is back.
All right. The Macedonians.
Yeah, so welcome. Thank you.
Anyone from the Ottoman Empire?
So we've got Macedonia, and where was my list? I had the list, and
the Maldives.
I had to.
Still no one in Saskatchewan, though, huh?
No one in Saskatchewan. Sons of guns. I'm going to go up there. I swear to God, I'm going to stand in the middle of Winnipeg and just freak out. But yeah, but we certainly do appreciate support from all around the world. We know you guys in
Come on,
Philippines. We've been getting a lot of downloads in the Philippines lately. United Kingdom, our friends in Australia, in where is that? New South Wales. We all appreciate we appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for following us.
And
on
hey,
the Mark Hoke Show.
There's a new king.
A new king.
Yeah.
Who's the new king, Fish?
King Charles. Queen Elizabeth died. There's a new king.
Oh, like literally.
There's literally a new king.
I was wondering if you would talk about...
That's King Charles III.
Yes, sorry, King Charles III.
I was. Did something happen to Jerry Lawler?
No, well, yeah, he's never mind.
The 10th anniversary of Jerry Lawler's heart attack on Raw just happened a couple days ago, by the way. Did you guys do you remember that?
I do remember that.
That was crazy.
Yes, it was.
If you don't know, 10 years ago, Jerry Lawler was doing color commentary on Monday Night Raw. Actually had a heart attack on the show. I will
say I'm very upset with ESPN.
Why are you upset with ESPN?
Because they hired away Pat McAfee to do, I think, college football. So now It's Michael Cole and Corey Graves on Friday Night SmackDown.
Graves is getting better, but
yeah, he is. But
Pat
McAfee was great.
Yeah, that was sad news that came out of WWE. That Pat McAfee, who is doing color commentary on Friday Night SmackDown, has been hired away and is doing ESPN College Game Day because, of course, he's awesome.
Yes.
And unfortunately I shouldn't say that. Corey Graves will be taking a spot until the college football season's over. So we get no more Pat McAfee dancing on the tables and so on.
No, is Graves going to be doing both then still, Raw and SmackDown, or are they going to bring someone else into Raw?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yes, so.
Somebody should be available. Maybe Joe DeFalco is available.
I'm available. Jonathan Coachman is probably available again.
I interviewed Coach once.
I worked with Coach at ESPN, so I know him very well, actually.
Interesting character.
I got a lot of good stories out of him, though.
I'm
all
sure
those guys have great stories.
Oh, I've got a Coachman story, but I can't say on the air. But anyway, oh my Lord! But hey, a great week for WWE, following up Clash of the Castle. By the way,
yeah, Braun Strowman's return.
Braun Strowman is back, destroying things.
He powerbombed Otis.
That wasn't bad.
Yeah, he's destroying the tag team division one show at a time.
Yeah,
I have no idea what the point of that is.
Neither do I.
But it's good to see Strowman back. But but it was interesting. You mentioned the power bomb because Strowman is apparently power bombing everybody now. They're calling it the Monster Bomb.
It's a Wardlow.
And people are ripping him, comparing him to Wardlow from AEW, saying that he's ripping off what Wardlow's doing, which I thought was kind of an interesting little internet blast to Braun Strowman.
Yeah, except for I think Strowman was doing it before Wardlow was on AEW.
Well, he was doing other stuff, though.
Yeah, he was flipping over ambulances.
Yes. He's a very strong man.
Yes.
Very strong man. But, guys, where do you think Braun Strowman's going to end up in this whole thing? I mean, we're hearing he's going to end up being in the main event scene fairly quickly. Are you happy Strowman's back first? And what do you think they do with him?
I think he looks fantastic. This is the best he's looked. I mean, he's lost weight and he can move around the ring. He does. When he first came up as one of the Wyatt family, he had no idea what the hell he was doing inside the ring. And you can see that he's worked on that and he's become much better. It really depends on the writing. Unfortunately, everything I'm hearing, though, is they're going to keep the belts on Reigns all the way up to WrestleMania when he fights The Rock and still holds the title after he beats The Rock at WrestleMania. So I don't know what's the point of putting anyone in the main title scene because no one's going to be able to beat Roman Reigns.
Joe, what are your thoughts about Braun Strowman's return?
I thought, him showing up on Raw was great. Then I'm reading that he's going to be another main guy on SmackDown, and it's like, okay, well, Kross has got to get his fitting, and Solo Sikoa's got to get his fitting, and you got Drew McIntyre, and you got Roman Reigns. It's like, okay, we saw, Solo and Drew, and then Kross got involved. It's like, are they going to do something weird and do, Kross, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman against the Bloodline or something? I don't really have an idea of where they're going because Strowman, yeah, everybody knows him. He was a former champion, so it's easy. It isn't like, oh, we have to build this guy up to put him in the main event. He was in the main event. The last show he ever worked was for the title. And him going there, it's just like, okay, is that a sign that Bray Wyatt's coming in there too? It's like they're really turning SmackDown into the heavyweight show now. That's
because don't they get more money from Fox than they do from NBC Universal?
That is very true. But I was surprised.
Brock, so if they don't have Lesnar now, if you load it up with Strowman and Drew and Reigns, and hopefully build a Kross. And then Bray Wyatt comes back, then I can't believe, Fox won't give him a lot more money the next time around.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that Strowman was going to SmackDown, too, because I thought he'd been very good on Raw. And having him maybe go after Bobby Lashley would have been a lot of fun to see.
Oh, that would have been good. Although I think they like keeping Lashley face, and they wanted Strowman to be a face.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Boy, imagine all those guys there, and Austin Theory becomes the Universal Champion.
Who's Gargano Wrestling on Monday? That was the big tease, was he's coming back to the ring, but who's he going to wrestle?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
The Brooklyn Brawler.
Barry Horowitz.
Oh, good Lord. There were a few that I was going to say, but I think they've all passed away. So maybe he'll be wrestling Dominik Mysterio. Your buddy.
Mini Goldust. Maybe it's Mini Goldust. Gargano, that way he can look tall.
Wow. That was right out of the Jim Cornette playbook there. But Dominik Mysterio is now officially with Judgment Day.
Which I said to you guys, what if I said to you last Sunday? Oh, no, he's not with Judgment Day. Of course he is.
Rhea Ripley has apparently made him a man.
Well, they need a fourth. They need a fifth wheel. So he's going to play the role of
Sami Zayn.
Who was it in the NWO?
Vincent.
Remember,
X-Pac.
He was the lackey of NWO.
Vincent.
There were a lot of.
No, the guy who used to be in ECW, and then he played Madonna's boyfriend in Mexico.
Oh.
I always talk about it, Scott Hall would bring his golf clubs, and the guy would have to carry him to the ring. That was his job.
Jeff Spicoli?
I forgot
Louis
who that was.
Spicoli.
Louis Spicoli.
Yeah.
Not Jeff Spicoli. Jeff Spicoli was from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Good try there, though.
They might have did better ratings if it was Jeff Spicoli.
But your thoughts on Dominik Mysterio officially being a Judgment Day member? Does this help the stable at all?
I saw it was happening.
Yeah, but do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it adds anything to the stable because he's not good.
Oh, wow. That had to hurt. Joe, what are your thoughts on Dom in the day?
When I met Dominik, he was a very nice fella.
Boy.
Yeah, he was.
That's cold.
Isn't he 80s kid?
I don't know where does he fit. Again, it's like with Edge being out of the group, it moved them down a notch. So they're not even top mid-card guys. They're lower mid-card guys. So you got Finn Balor, you got Damian Priest, you got Rhea Ripley. Where does Dominik fit in?
That is a good question. I don't know. I'm not big on the move. I really don't.
If Edge was the leader, Edge and Ray had a lot of history. They could play up to that. It's Damian Priest putting Dominik Mysterio under his wing. Damian Priest hasn't had a win in 6 months.
Boy, there's a guy that fell from grace fast.
Who, Damian Priest?
Yeah. He was on an undefeated streak for a long time when they pulled him up, and he gave
him the U.S. championship.
Yeah, now it's and it's a shame.
It was when he made his heel turn that it kind of all fell apart.
Yeah, bring back Bad Bunny.
They are.
It was and then you put Finn Balor in as the lead, and you change the whole dynamic.
They are bringing back Bad Bunny, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard that. But Kevin Owens smashed Austin Theory on Raw as well.
Love Kevin Owens right now.
And here's another guy. Do you and obviously they're talking about a major push with him, but what is the push?
I don't know.
What do you do? Because obviously, I guess Bobby Lashley's your top champ on Raw at this point with Roman flying around.
Right. I think they have to figure out a way to split the belts. If they want to keep one of the belts on Roman, that's fine. They have to figure out a way to split the belts because you're right. Because there needs to be a guy. Because you got to ascend to more than just the U.S. title.
Joe, what are your thoughts about where Kevin Owens is headed on this? And and Fish brings up a good point about the titles. Obviously Roman Reigns is holding both world championships on Raw. How do you, do you want to get out of that? And if you do, how do you do it? But let's talk Kevin Owens first.
Again, all these guys, when Orton's coming back, you got Riddle, it's great to have, whatever. How many times have we looked at the WWE title picture and said, well, hey, this guy could be champ, this guy could be champ, this guy could be champ. You're talking 10 guys. We've already talked about 4 or 5 on SmackDown. Randy Orton slides in, he could be a champion. Kevin Owens could be a champion. Riddle could be positioned in that way. Lashley.
Seth Rollins,
so many guys. And, do Do you go with the Intercontinental title, the U.S. title? There have always been those secondary titles. All you can do is put together good matches, good feuds. Back in the day, nobody was taking the belt off Hogan, but you were still able to bring in good stories of Macho Man and Steamboat and a DiBiase story and Jake the Snake with Rick Rude or whatever it is. All people want to see is a compelling story. Whether the belt's involved or not isn't the most important thing. In some cases, when you're trying to establish a new guy, like for a guy like Kross, winning the title would be a big deal. You know, what about AJ Styles? You know, here's a guy who's been kind of floundering after he helped out Omos. You know, where does he fit in the picture? There's so many guys. It's kind of crazy. The top talent that you look at in both organizations, even with AEW, there's so many guys that it's amazing compared to, you know, all the years ago. And we talk about, how great it was compared to what it is now. There's so many people that are worthy but never get the opportunity. In the 90s, there was so many guys who never won the championship, but it was still major parts of shows. And right now, Kevin Owens has to, you know, be that upper mid-card guy who is good enough to be the champion and hopefully build up an Austin Theory and take those younger guys that you're looking to push and make something special of by involving them in those situations like they did with Riddle by putting him with Orton. You know, they have to get to that young crop. You know, all those other guys we talked about, even a guy like Kross, you know, they're 38, 39, 40 years old, these people. Braun Strowman, you know, he's not 27.
Yeah, and it's funny that we were a few months ago talking about how it was Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and everybody else was kind of and now all of a sudden with Triple H taking over, a lot of these guys have been elevated, but at the same time, what do? You know, it's WWE has always been a talent-rich roster with people that are misused, but now we're starting to see them be used better. But at the same time, you know, Joe, you bring up a great point that now you got to tell the right stories. Now you got to figure out a way how to put the puzzle pieces together in a way that from top to bottom, your card is going to be interesting and entertaining. You know, AEW lost their way a little bit with all the injuries and everything. But one thing that was cool about AEW was a lot of those feuds that they had, they were telling good stories with. But
right.
So you know, now it's WWE's turn. They've got to start telling good stories.
And you know,
now there's a logjam at the top, and it's like nobody keeps talking about it. What all these guys Triple H brings in, that means they got to shave some TV time off. A lot of the Happy Corbins, the Madcap Moss. You know, where does he stand? You know, you keep bringing in these guys, and then you bring in Bray Wyatt, and we're going to bring in Aleister Black back, and all this. You know, there's a lot of these guys, they got to fall by the wayside. There's just not going to be TV time. How is there going to be TV time for Dominik Mysterio?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think, first of all, the first thing you have to do, like I said, is you have to have Roman Reigns lose a title match, but then have it, Paul Heyman comes out and says, wait, it was only one of the titles that was really up for grabs. I put it in his contract that he wasn't going to lose both. So that's how you split the title. But you're right. The problem is WWE hasn't had good storytelling since the Attitude Era.
Yeah, it's been bad. I mean, that's part of the reason that while I would watch WWE, I wasn't that excited about it because they were just, this person's going to wrestle this person and that's it. And there was nothing compelling about it.
A couple of months, okay, they out of nowhere, Kross comes back and he kind of gets instilled with Reigns and Drew McIntyre. Like, how far ahead did they think? Oh, wait, we're going to have Solo Sikoa cost Drew McIntyre. Well, that makes Solo Sikoa have to wrestle Drew McIntyre. So now where does Kross stand? Oh, wait, now he attacks Drew McIntyre. So now is he going to wrestle Drew McIntyre? Then if he does, then what's Solo Sikoa going to do? And that's fine that Roman Reigns is out. You have those guys. But it's like, I'm not sure they thought that far ahead. Like when bringing Kross back, did they know that a month later Solo Sikoa was going to get involved with Drew McIntyre? It looked like it was already set feud with Kross and Drew, and now it's like it's all over the place. Even though it's great to see the new blood in there, it's like, where are they going with any of it?
And the Triple H era gets more interesting, doesn't it? of course, Triple H.
You're taking. It seems taking great joy in the pains that WWE is going through.
No, I just think it's interesting because I love what Triple H has done. I'm much more excited about watching a WWE broadcast now, but there's a new boss and he's got to figure things out.
Yeah, what do you expect? Hey, Fish, what do you expect from the AEW apologist?
Exactly. I mean? That's exactly what I'm saying. Wow. The AEW Mark over there.
I just love good wrestling.
That's the name of the show, actually. It's the AEW Mark Hoke Show.
Stop it. I just love good wrestling. And WWE has been putting on good wrestling lately. Now the fun part is
the storytelling. No, 100%.
Is, can you tell the right stories with everybody?
Because Joe makes a great point. If you remember, you had the whole Ravishing Rick Rude, Jake the Snake storyline. Had nothing to do with the title. It had to do with Rude having Jake's wife on his pants.
But a lot of it was like that too. I mean, I was just watching the story about WrestleMania that A&E did, and you started going down that card, and there were a lot of great stories all the way. Despite everything else that was going on with WrestleMania, there were a lot of great stories that went on throughout most of that card.
Yeah, I mean, the title wasn't even up for grabs in the main event. It was a boxing match between Mr. T and Roddy Piper.
Well,
right?
That was two.
That was two.
That was one of the matches.
People think back of WrestleMania and how great it was. It was like, and once it was around WrestleMania, it was like the Bolsheviks against Iron Sheik and Cola and what's his face, and there was a lot of crap matches too. But the top 3 or 4 matches were such big deals that the rest of the card was kind of forgotten. Even the one, what was it, Tatanka and Lex Luger or something. They built that up with the $1 million feud, and Tatanka ended up turning his back. But there was always the long-term story planning. But then at WrestleMania, it was over with. Jake the Snake, beat Ravishing Rick Rude, and they both went on to other things. While nowadays it's like, okay, well, we just had the big match at WrestleMania, but on Monday Night Raw we're going to have a bigger one.
It's going to be a rematch of it, which is
That's right, exactly. And then the next pay-per-view
is WrestleMania Rewind.
Falls count anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. That makes no sense. It has to. That's the problem. Isn't even the build. It is that it has to build to something, and you can't have it not just have a continuous build with no end in sight, with no peak.
Right.
Right, like even with Reigns and Drew, there was like, there's 30 other guys. If Reigns isn't losing, have him beat Drew. That way, Drew moves on to something else, and now he can go after Kross. He can go after Strowman. Instead, it's like everybody is always like lurking in the background, like, he never really beat Drew.
Yeah. So. Yeah, this is going to be intriguing now that we're actually playing with all the toys in the toy box. What do you do?
Have they booked Roman Reigns as a weak champion or a strong champion?
Oh, I think he's still a strong champion.
Well, it depends on the situation.
Because it seems like he wins all the time, but he never wins without getting some help from somebody.
Well, remember, he is the number one heel in the company.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying, doesn't that booking make him weaker because he's only winning because he has help? For instance, the only reason why Drew McIntyre lost is because Solo Sikoa pulled Roman Reigns out of the ring, pulled the referee out of the ring.
A lot of times when it comes down to it, though, when he's in a really big match, he wins, and it reminds me a lot of Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. There was interference all the time. Flair was getting saved all the time, but a lot of times when it came down to it, Rick won.
It's the legacy. Down the line, people aren't going to be like, Roman Reigns won because of this. When you put the giant picture together, the guy's been the champion for over 2 years. You don't say, he had 13 title defenses and 9 were screw jobs. You know what I mean?
Right. I got you.
What I like to tell our wrestlers and things like that is it doesn't matter how you lose. I remember The Godfather. It was like, maybe I lose by a roll-up. He's like, if I'm going to lose, I might as well lose. What's the point? If you're supposed to be putting somebody over, did you put him over because he beat you by a roll-up? Let him hit his finisher and beat you. If that's the guy you want to push, make him win. All
right. And, guys, we've got to head to break here shortly. Just all sorts of quality discussions here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM 720 AM. Hey, I want to remind you real quick before we hit the break, make sure you go check out Trading Made Easy. If you want to get into some automated day trading software or make some extra money, maybe drop that 9-to-5 job, Go to tradingmadeasy.com. It's so simple. You only need one E in there. Tradingmadeasy.com. Give them a call at 800-971-4160. Sign up for your free live trading session right now, and you can get in on the act of automated day trading software and make some, hopefully, pretty easy money. So check that out. Once again, tradingmadeasy.com or call 800-971-4160. We'll be back with the final half hour of the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN right after this. Stick around, everybody. Hi, this is Mark Hoke. Has out-of-control inflation, gas prices, and grocery costs wrecked your wallet? Then check into automated day trading with Trading Made Easy. Trading Made Easy has spent 5 years helping people put cash in their pockets with their simple-to-use day trading software. So if you're ready to leave that 9-to-5 job behind, visit TradingMadEasy.com or call 800-971-4160 to sign up for a free live training seminar right now. That's TradingMadEasy.com. I'm Mark Hoke, and I've got to tell you about the incredible Family Soul Restaurant. They're the only soul food restaurant in Northwest Las Vegas, and simply put, they're the best in the city. Dan and his family have always treated me like I was a part of theirs every time we come in, and we never leave hungry. Start off with the amazing appetizers like their mac and cheese crab balls, crispy wings, and Dan's soul rolls. Then dive into Family Soul's dinners with homemade catfish, hot links, and fried chicken with all the amazing sides you could ever want, and finish it off with homemade peach cobbler and banana pudding. Plus, they're now open for breakfast Friday through Sunday, too. So head on over to Family Soul Restaurant right now at 2300 North Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 108, just off the Lake Mead and Cheyenne exits of I-95. Check them out at FamilySoulRestaurant.com or call 725-205-5085 for hours and their menu. Mention KDWN and get the People's Choice Special of catfish, yams, and greens for just $15.99. It's food for the soul and the family. Family Soul Restaurant.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, and we are back on the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 1015 FM, 720 AM. It is the talk of Las Vegas, the greatest professional wrestling show of all times.
All time.
You betcha. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us.
I'm Coco Beware.
Is Joe? Does that make Joe
Frankie?
Frankie? No, we can't do that to Joe DeFalco.
Frankie DeFalco? I like Frankie DeFalco.
That works. Yeah, there you go. But Andrew Fish, Fain, Joe DeFalco from Future Stars of Wrestling. And by the way, you got to check out everything Joe's got going on with FSW. Go to fswvegas.com. You can learn to be a wrestler, referee, all sorts of great stuff.
I told you, I'm ready to manage your ref.
And of course,
yeah, you're ready. You do a lot of talking, so I guess you could be a manager. You know, all that talking you do.
Yeah, I could be the mouth of the West.
Can we shave his head, Joe, if he doesn't?
Hey, I'll take. You know what? I'm willing to get my head shaved if that's what it takes.
I'd be more than down with that. But of course, Joe, of course, also trains wrestlers and has great cards down there too. Joe, what's your next event coming up?
We got actually a student show next Saturday, Future Shock. So we're going to have a lot of the younger guys on there. There's probably 3 or 4 going to be making their debut. So it's a good place, you know, Future Shock. The student shows. That's where Chris Bay and Karrion Kross got their first matches. Solo Sikoa. You know, their guys are main event guys in WWE, and they had to start somewhere. And you could have watched their first match for like $10-15.
That's got to feel pretty good for you, like a proud papa, to see them graduate from where they were to where they are now.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we'd even have like a watch party when Kross won the NXT title. We did it when Chris Bay was wrestling for the X Division Championship, and he ended up winning. So, you know, same thing with Zoe Stark. She's been banged up a lot over the last 6 months, but her trajectory and people in the know really like her. And it's like, you know, looking forward to seeing her. She had the opportunity to be in the tag tournament on SmackDown, but she got concussed in the title match, and she never got to make that main roster debut. So, yeah, you know, with our all-star staff of guys like D'Lo Brown and Kenny King and T.J. Perkins and Sin Bodie, you know, we have a great, you know, training facility that we do seminars with the biggest names in wrestling have been through that door, you know, to help with the the new generation of wrestlers. So Future Shock is a good start to see some new talent looking to, break through in the business.
Maybe Tony Khan should come there to learn how to be an owner.
He should.
Wow. Wow. Calling the con man out right here on the Mark Hoke Show. It's unbelievable.
And again, you see how it is. There's people you get close relationships with, but I've never let that cloud my judgment. I never put like a mid-card guy over as the heavyweight champion just because I liked him.
Besides, Hammerstone would just destroy him.
That's very, very true. Yeah. So
you look at all our champions. They were champions with us before they were anywhere else, and anybody knew them. Between Brian Cage and Kross and Hammerstone and Chris Bay and Sean Ricker, now Max Dupri, and maybe back to LA Knight, I'm reading.
Yeah, we were going to mention that real quick. Yeah, so get on over to fswvegas.com and see what they got going on. Some great cards coming up. And I know you got another big one coming up on, I believe it's October 21st out of the Silver Nugget, correct?
23rd.
Yeah,
Impact's going to be in town the 21st and 22nd, and we have our next edition of the Mecca, and we're bringing back some familiar faces. Former tag champ Paul Leona, who's now part of Ring of Honor. Chris Masters, he's coming back, and that guy is still in phenomenal shape, wrestling in the NWA. And as well as the Hammerstones and the Bays of the world, of course. But yeah, we're looking to we're talking with some big names, and we always want to make sure the Mecca is stacked to the gills.
Yep, should be fun. And by the way, if they're all hungry, we got to have them get over to Family Soul Restaurant. Very important. Go over to FamilySoulRestaurant.com, and you can have some of the best soul food in Northwest Las Vegas. Catfish. All sorts of fantastic stuff, man. Fried chicken, whatever you want, all the sides, the whole deal. They are 2300 North Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 108. Once again, it's Family Soul Restaurant. Call them at 725-205-5085. They're serving breakfast right now, shrimp and grits. Drive on over there while you're listening to the show and say hi. And by the way, mention KDWN. You get that People's Choice special, catfish, greens, and yams, $15.99. That's Family Soul Restaurant. Now, SmackDown, because I'm sure Joe has been enjoying SmackDown very, very, very much with Solo Sikoa and Karrion Kross making the big push up there. Where do you see these guys going, Joe? I know we were talking a little bit about Kross, but guys, what do you think about the future of those two guys? Getting this big push and seeing where they're headed with Bloodline and taking on Drew McIntyre. Pretty cool stuff.
I think it makes sense to have Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline. I think that was an obvious move to make. I think the problem is, and Joe said it, it's just too confusing at the top. That all of a sudden, and as great as Killer Kross is, he comes in and he's attacking Drew McIntyre. But I don't know what they can do with him because he hasn't even attacked. He made the statement to Roman Reigns when they put the hourglass in the ring, but he's never done anything towards Roman Reigns. So he's going over McIntyre. You're going after a guy who has no power.
You never know. Maybe it's all the swerve, like back in the New World Order days, that maybe Karrion Kross is an honorary use. Maybe he takes out Sami Zayn.
Yikes.
Ooh.
That would be interesting.
This is great work by Sami Zayn, though. I
awesome.
wasn't that huge a Zayn fan until now. This is some of the best work I've seen him do.
But that's the best work I think the writers have done. It's like they've made Zayn fit in with those guys great. You got the one Uso who hates him. You got the other Uso who basically...
Jimmy loves him, Jay hates him.
Like he likes him. It's great stuff. It's as serious can be when it needs to be, but there's also good comedy in the mix. Like, that is by far the best entertainment combination wrestling you got, because you got guys who can work, obviously, with the Usos and Reigns and even Sami Zayn. So there's so much going on there that anybody who's involved with that, should be, as they say, be getting the rub.
And another thing going on SmackDown that
That's what got Vince McMahon in trouble, by the way.
Yeah,
getting the
rub. Andrew Fish Fiend, everybody. He'll be playing at Bonkers Comedy Club. Bussing tables, not doing comedy, that's for sure. But another thing happening on SmackDown that I think a lot of people are really enjoying right now is Imperium. The boys brought the old music back. Gunther, of course, is the Intercontinental Champion. Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci looking pretty good, and people are going crazy for Sheamus again. He did 25 beats of the Bowery in that match the other day.
They've turned those guys, the Bowery Boys or whatever they're calling themselves.
The Brawling Brutes.
The Brawling Brutes. They've turned them into faces. Now the question is Butch going to become Pete Dunne again and go back to that?
I don't know.
Look at that. They even got Butch over.
Yeah, I think this is a really fascinating feud because, of course, they had the great Intercontinental title match with Sheamus taking on Gunther at Clash at the Castle, and they are just riding this out. This is one of those undercard feuds that we were talking about building a more than just the main event scene that people are really digging, and I am enjoying it. I love seeing Imperium back together. I think eventually they're a bloodline threat.
It's got a very, very World War II vibe, though, because you have Germany and Italy going against England, and I'm telling you.
All they need to do is bring Taka Michinoku back, and then we can have.
Jesus!
We can call it World War III.
Oh, that was perfect.
That was not planned, everybody.
Kai and Tai can join with Imperium.
No more. No.
And then you can bring back Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda as the U.S. Express to join with the Brawling Brutes.
No, you bring in Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, the U.S. Express, too.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Could
good.
you imagine if they did that? People would be going they would not be happy, but it would be kind of neat to see those two team up, of course. Barry Windham.
I want to see Bo Dallas as the Universal Champion myself, but still.
You have to believe.
He was on a big train to happiness and joy in WWE, and then it just went.
And then they pulled him off the tracks.
Yeah.
That's because no one was buying him.
Oh, people were into him. Come on. He got handed crap, and he got it over, and then they had to switch him up, and then he was part of. Even when he was part of the Mrs. gang, it was like you knew he was the standout. He was the guy that should have broke out of there.
The B team actually was the best thing he had done. Him and Curtis Axel there.
Yeah, that was a fun team. I liked them.
I disagree. I think everything Bo Dallas did was fantastic.
You're like Mark with AEW. You're a Bo Dallas apologist.
Oh my!
He'd be the
Lord.
FSW heavyweight champion, Bo Dallas. That'd be the guy taking the belt off Hammerstone.
I think people would pay to see that match, though.
What?
Wouldn't it?
Hammerstone and Bo Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Oh, you guys. Oh, but are you guys excited about Imperium, by the way? Because I am. I love these guys.
I know you do. I would be more excited if they would have kept their names. If it was still Walter and still what's his name? What's Vinci's real name, or Vinci's name that he had before he was Vinci?
I don't know. Adolf Kaiser.
Eichner.
I don't know.
but those guys are a terrific tag team. I mean, I loved watching NXT, seeing those guys wrestle, and they had the great War Games with the Undisputed guys. I mean, the Undisputed Era. There's some serious stuff there, and I mentioned a while back that I would love to see them going against the Bloodline, and that, I mean, Gunther and taking on Roman Reigns right now, the way Gunther's wrestling and as over as he is, and then the Imperium going after the Usos.
Yeah, Gunther isn't that over.
What I like about it, it brings me back to the old days when it was like it was this faction warfare. And it was, you had to choose who you liked, whether it was the Boricuas or the Nation or the DOA. It was basically three heels in there, but somebody had to come across as baby faces. And those guys had wars for a long time. And it's easy to do when you got a faction of all these main guys, and you got Sheamus, and you got Walter, and then you have the Bloodline people, and you got everybody in there. It's a great mix of stuff. People like the gang fights.
Oh, absolutely. And then, it just reminded me of thinking about those times, and you're absolutely right. With Boricuas and DOA was the name of the group. I could not remember for the life of me, and you did. So thank you very much.
Primetime Brian Lee, the fake Undertaker.
The faker.
Wow. Interesting. Well, there was another story that came out this week that I wanted to get to you guys and see what you thought. And this is This is so up DeFalco's alley, it's not even funny. Here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5
Does it have to
FM.
do something with Eva Marie?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with Eva Marie.
Well, that's up DeFalco's alley.
Andrew Fish Fain, you have been a bitter son of a gun today, I'll tell you. But you're peppy, it's all right. So Triple H has been making changes, as we know. And a couple new changes that apparently, and I wasn't honestly too aware of this, but Vince McMahon had a couple rules about how matches would end and things that would go on in matches. And here's one, and we saw this happen at Clash at the Castle. So this was one where you had the referee get pulled by somebody outside the ring on a 3 count. And I didn't even realize that Vince had a rule that he didn't like that.
I hate that.
And I don't like it either, but that is apparently back now in WWE. There was another one that the illegal wrestler in a tag team match could not attack a legal competitor outside of the referee's 5 count when a tag had been made without causing a disqualification. So
that one I knew, actually.
Yeah. So 2 interesting rule changes, at least in terms of how you plan a match in WWE. Guys, what do you think of these changes Triple H has made?
I think Triple H is trying to bring back what he knew as the WWE, and it was a very successful time, obviously, so he thinks it's going to work.
Joe, you helped put matches together. Your thoughts on this stuff, especially
I'm waiting for the Bill Watts go over the top rope disqualified new rule that they bring back.
The old NWA rule that if you got thrown over the top rope, it was an automatic disqualification.
You know, when you talk about that one, I just don't like it because obviously if you pull the wrestler out, it's going to be somebody who was involved with the guy who would have lost the match. So if it's a manager on the outside, you know it hadn't been Paul Heyman, so that immediately should be a disqualification. It's like, you know, we always want to make sure, hey, you don't make the referee look like an idiot. Well, that's the perfect way to make a referee look like an idiot. Well, they've pulled the referee out on numerous occasions. And when you pull the referee out, how you put your hands on the ref. So how is that not a disqualification? And I get it. It's wrestling. You make your own rules and do stuff. But it's always easier to have a universal rule because there'll be some cases where you'll see it, and if it benefits, they'll make it a disqualification. But then you could see it, especially on WWE programming. Well, those are the same finish 3 times in a 2-hour show. That one time they did it and it meant something, and the other time they did it, it didn't mean something. All we want is continuity as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I hate that referee pull.
I do too.
I always did.
Joe's point, the only time that actually there's no time because whoever it benefits, you know that's the person whose outside interference did it. So there's no, as soon as a referee gets pulled out, as soon as his foot is touched by someone, that should be a disqualification.
You know, it's also, you know, I know it was great and Eddie Guerrero did it, but the Eddie Guerrero spot
with the chair,
the guy has a chair, the referee didn't see it. Supposedly the referee can't do anything unless he's seen it. Just like he can't accept the tag because he didn't see it. So a guy's laying on the ground and you heard a chair. But if you were a referee who grew up watching wrestling, you know the bad guy always is going to do that. You know, and the finish is great when it's like in a number 1 contenders match or something, and it's a way to win, I guess. You know, but it's just like you need to do that like once a year if you're lucky.
And the one thing they have done a lot recently in wrestling that I absolutely cannot stand is that a number 1 contenders match now comes at the price of the champion. If you can beat the champion once, you can be the number 1 contender.
Well, yeah, and that's always, a non-title match, it's like, recipe for the champ losing.
Yeah, if you're going to have a number 1 contenders match, shouldn't it be against 2 people that don't have the championship yet, so one of them could be the number 1 contender?
Yeah, I hate those. And they're doing a lot of those in AEW, and I can't stand them. I hate those matches. You know, why... If you're having a number 1 contenders match, it should be 2 people that are trying to contend for the title as opposed to, well, if you beat the champ. Well, if I beat the champ,
I should
be a champ.
Exactly. And it's the same thing when they do it in a tag. They throw people together to tag team. And, well, in this tag team match, I pinned the guy who happened to be the Intercontinental Champion. So that doesn't mean you should. The other guy beat him up first, and then you covered him.
Yeah. We love professional wrestling, everybody. We really do. But sometimes things like that just make you shake your head.
Because we also hate professional wrestling.
Exactly. I mean, we can suspend disbelief, but at the same time, you got to make it believable disbelief.
Right. That's what it's all about. And when you see things happen in a match, and that's one of my problems with some things like the Young Bucks do, for example, when they do those spots that are so coordinated that there's no way if I was in a fight, I would be standing there waiting for somebody to jump off the top rope and land on me. I would be running away and saying, no, you're not going to jump. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, I hate those.
But you're never going to do a Hurricane Rana in a fight either. But I see in, superhero movies all the time. It's like, oh, wrestling move. Oh, rock bottom. It's like they do these moves now. So I do see them in fights.
And they did have that. Montez Ford on Friday night did an amazing spot, by the way, doing that jump, landing on everybody, the MMMs and the MMEs and whoever.
Well, if you do it in a way that that it would be reasonable that a person would be standing there.
Yeah, as opposed to them just
like
waiting
I
for
just
it.
got knocked out and I'm getting up and I'm dazed. But like what happened in the match with Pac a couple weeks ago on Dynamite, I believe it was, where he was positioning himself on the top rope and trying to get on the turnbuckle connection for 30 seconds while the guys from United Empire or whatever were standing there waiting for him. I'm like, you're not going to stand there for 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, usually it's 5 of them that have to stand there, or 4 of them. It's just like enough already.
Yeah, those spots need to go away.
Yeah, they really do. You are absolutely correct there.
So bad. There was one other little story I wanted to hit with you guys real quick and get your thoughts on. Nick Aldis, and of course, longtime NWA champion, has been out there on the independent circuit forever.
Mr. Mickey James.
Yeah, Mickey James' husband. In a recent interview, stated that he is maybe looking to get into WWE. And of course, Nick apparently has a very good reputation, has been out there for a long time, held the NWA title for, years. Would you guys like to see Nick Aldis in WWE? Do you think it would work? How would you do that? And, Joe, you're out on the independent scene. Your thoughts on Nick Aldis trying to get into WWE?
Well, I've heard a lot of negative. I've heard a lot of positive. He fits the bill. He's a big dude, got the accent. He talks really, really well. Good worker. I wouldn't say a great worker, but a good worker. And he would fit right in there in the upper mid card, and possibly a guy. He can talk his way into a main event. There's no doubt about it. So, it wouldn't be the worst thing. And he's never really been exposed to the WWE world. So, the former Magnus, I think, would be a good fit there.
I'd like to see it because a guy like that who's been around that long and worked that hard, I think deserves a shot at the big time, deserves to make that kind of money, is WWE money. I think, he doesn't have, you don't have to push him to the moon, but I think Joe's right. Upper mid card would be perfect for him.
Well, and I know the NWA is not anywhere near what it used to be, but if you were WWE, would you maybe try to incorporate that in and say, this is a guy that's been NWA champion forever, and Adam Pearce was a guy that was an NWA champion for a really, really long time too, and he's found his way in, and not as a wrestler but performing. I mean, is there any thought about maybe in mentioning that he's the NWA champion or doing something along those lines?
I don't know. I think they'll do it if they think that it'll give him any sort of boost, but I don't know if doing that would.
Hey, good mouthpiece for Imperium right there, bringing Nick Aldis.
No, he's on the wrong side of the axis.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You have to bring on Baron Zukov.
There you go. He's a turncoat. We can write it. It's wrestling. You can do whatever you want.
That is very true.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan was part of Team Canada, so. If Jim Duggan could be Team Canada, Nick Aldis could be Imperium.
There you go. Wow. That is an interesting thought.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, and one more real quick because we've got about a minute left. We did see Max Dupri, who I thought was going to contaminate the entire WWE with maximum male and female models, is apparently hinting he's going back to the LA Knight gimmick.
Where are the female models, by the way?
I don't know. They're the maximum male models right now.
Yes, I know.
But, should that whole thing just be scrapped?
Yes, please.
Again, it makes no sense on that show. I don't understand it.
It makes no sense on any show.
Well, and that was clearly a Vince idea. He was actually producing a lot of the segments they were doing leading up to that. So I guess they decided to try and give it a shot and see what happened.
Yeah, I think that LA Knight coming back as LA Knight will be much better if he can wrestle because he's a very talented worker.
He's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
A great mic work, too.
Yeah,
and having a guy with great mic work come out with two guys that are jobbers and are always going to lose, it really just takes away from the whole gimmick.
Yeah, so let's free LA Knight, as the kids like to say.
Eli Drake.
There you go.
That's better name.
Guys, blast of a show today.
Especially that first hour.
A lot of fun. You'll be able to check it out at markhokeshow.podbean.com. And, of course, you can follow us on Facebook at Mark Hoke Show, or the Mark Hoke Show, Twitter at Mark Hoke Show. And, of course, we got Fish at
Just
the Fish
remember, Vince got the
1969.
rub, too.
Yeah, Joe DeFalco at FSW Vegas.
It's a schmoz.
Oh, God, Fish. So thank you all for listening here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM, the Talk of Las Vegas. We'll see you next week on the Mark Hoke Show. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.